Early in my career, I was sitting across from a foreign intelligence officer in South America. He's smiling, friendly, cooperative. We're talking about the city, crime patterns, safe zones, threat assessment, just standard liaison work. But every time I mention one specific neighborhood, his hand goes to his neck. Not once, not twice, three times in about 4 minutes. See, most people would miss it, write it off as a nervous habit. I almost did. But that neck touch, that single reflexive gesture, was the only thing standing between accurate intelligence and a decision that could have put American service members in danger. This is what happens when you stop trusting the words and start reading the body. Here's the context. See, US military members were in the area for a joint exercise. Temporary presence, but high visibility. And the local government, they wanted to capitalize on it. There was a shopping mall adjacent to the neighborhood I was tasked with assessing, the kind of place that could generate serious revenue if American service members were allowed to go under downtime. See, my counterpart, the local intelligence officer, had every reason to make that mall sound safe. Economic pressure, political optics, national pride, and on the surface, he was doing exactly that. He was calm, confident, cooperative. He painted a picture of a secure area. And this is what I call the noise, the performance layer. The story someone wants you to believe, but underneath, his body was leaking a different story. And early in my career, I wasn't sure if I was reading it right. See, training says one thing, but in the field, doubt creeps in. Was I overthinking it? Was I seeing patterns that weren't there? That hesitation, that gap between what you observed and whether you trust it, is where most professionals lose the signal. So I ran a test. I brought up the neighborhood again, casual, almost offhand, just to see if the behavior repeated. And it did, hand to the neck. A brief touch, almost imperceptible, but consistent. And that's when I made the call to trust the read. I stopped asking yes or no questions and I started using statements. See, I was using elicitation to lower his defenses and let him correct me. I said, it sounds like that area near the mall has been completely clear of gang activity for months now. And he hesitated. Well, mostly clear, and that word, mostly, was the leak. I pressed gently, and within 10 minutes, the truth came out. The neighborhood adjacent to the mall was an active zone for criminal and gang activity, but they intentionally downplayed it. They needed the foot traffic, they needed the revenue. The neck touch wasn't random, it was his nervous system trying to regulate the stress of withholding intelligence. And once I trusted that signal, I could act on it. So let's go ahead and break this down. What you just heard is a real world application of the O.S.A protocol. Observe, segregate, analyze. This is my foundational tradecraft and it's how I turn suspicion into actionable intelligence. In step 1, observe, you need to establish the baseline. Before you can detect deception, you have to know what normal looks like for that person. In my case, I spent the first 10 minutes of the meeting observing my counterpart in a low stakes conversation. Weather, exercise, logistics. I noted that his vocal tone was steady and warm. His posture was relaxed, leaning slightly forward, his hand placement either resting on the table or gesturing naturally. And that was his baseline, his natural state when there's no cognitive load. In step 2, we segregate. We filter the noise from the signal. And once the baseline is established, you're looking for deviations. These are moments when behavior shifts in response to a specific stimulus. The moment I mentioned that neighborhood, his behavior changed. Hand to the neck, which is a pacifying behavior of self-soothing. Then you see his vocal pace slow slightly, and eye contact broke for a fraction of a second. And these weren't conscious choices, these were reflexive. His autonomic nervous system was trying to manage the cognitive load of withholding that information. Here's a critical insight. The face lies. The body leaks. Your subject can control their smile, but they can't control their feet, their breathing, or where their hands go under stress. For the last step, we analyze. We test the read. You have observed the baseline, you have spotted the deviation. Now you need to confirm the read without triggering defensiveness. This is where most people fail because they confront, they accuse, and they ask direct questions. Instead, I use a correction hook, a statement designed to be slightly wrong so that the subject feels they need to correct you. I said, it sounds like that area has been completely clear of gun activity. And he corrected me, mostly clear. That single word was the operational necessity. It gave me permission to dig deeper without resistance. And this is exactly the kind of tradecraft we teach inside my community. If you want to learn how to read the room before the room reads you, if you want access to the full O.S.A protocol, field exercises, and a community of high stakes professionals applying this work in real time, go ahead and apply to join the free Invisible Script community in school. No fluff, no theory, Just better professionals learning situational intelligence for boardrooms, negotiations, and leadership. Let's get you vetted. So here's your mission. Tomorrow, whether you're in a negotiation, a leadership meeting, or a client pitch, run the O.S.A protocol. Observe, go ahead and spend the first 5 minutes establishing the baseline. What does calm look like for this person? Then segregate. When you introduce the high stakes topic, watch for the deviation. Where do their hands go? Does their vocal pace change? Do they break eye contact? Then you analyze. When you spot the hot spot, test it. Use a correction hook. Make a statement. Let them feel the gap. You don't need a badge to do this. You just need the discipline to watch, wait, and trust the signal. Because here's the truth. In that room in South America, the word said one thing, the body said another, and the body was right. That neck touch, repeated reflexive tied to a specific stimulus, was the only honest thing in that room. And because I trusted it, I was able to provide accurate intelligence that kept people safe. And that's the power of reading the invisible script. The invisible script is a community where this work is applied in real world and where transformation is possible. Until next time, trust the signal, not the story.